Welcome back. Today I want to talk about Centipede and Millipede, two arcade games from the early 1980s which have seen multiple ports, remasters, and reimaginings over the years. I'm only going to cover the games that I either own a copy of or have access to through compilations like the Atari Classics Collection. Speaking of which, the arcade versions of each game are available on various systems as part of the Atari Classics Collection. On the Nintendo Switch, you can even turn the screen 90 degrees to imitate the screen size of the original arcade. For recording this, the game appears sideways and is only available in handheld mode. Moving on to the Atari 2600, Centipede made its way to the home console in 1982. Simplistic graphics didn't take any of the fun away from playing this game, and this was the first version of Centipede I had played. Unfortunately, it only supports one player. Millipede on the Atari 2600 also only supports one player, but it's still lots of fun regardless. Released on the console in 1984, it was my introduction to these bug-blasting games, and the second game I ever owned for my Atari 2600. Moving on to the Atari 5200s of these games, Centipede got a graphics upgrade as well as support for two players. Both games are available as part of the Atari Classics Collection, and with Millipede, this is the only way to experience the Atari 5200 version, as the game was never released for the system. Millipede does suffer from significantly slower gameplay than its older cousin on the Atari 2600, and as a result, I cannot recommend this version. Centipede saw a release on the Atari 7800, and this version saw a minor difference in the graphics. Two-player gameplay is also available here. Millipede didn't see a release on the Atari 7800, but it did see one on the NES, and I have to say, this version is garbage. One of the game's mechanics is that the screen scrolls up or down depending on the various bugs you shoot, and every time the screen scrolls in this version, it has an annoying pause to the action. The Game Boy also got a release of both games, and these were also compatible with the Super Game Boy, complete with their own backgrounds and borders. Sadly though, the game is made too easy by the lack of speed of anything on the screen. Even your arrows travel very slow, however you can move a bit faster than everything else. This can result in some long game sessions as it is very difficult to lose a life. Still, Millipede on this collection is far better than on the NES.
But when you're asked to save the world, you don't ask why. You just make it happen.
Next up, we have Centipede on the PlayStation. This is a reimagining of the game in a 3D environment. It starts off with an FMV trying to give a backstory to your character, a random nobody suddenly elevated to hero status. The adventure mode, as seen here, allows you to move around a much larger field. You also have to rescue the inhabitants of this town, which you do by just running over them. Anyhow, it's not bad, but the background music is a bit repetitive. Here we have yet another port of the classic Centipede, this time for the Game Boy Advance. Nothing too different here, just your same classic bug blasting as you've always known it for. The mushroom field is a bit more dense as you keep playing through, resulting in the Centipede coming straight down the field as it begins to fill up too quickly. Still, a decent port of the classic. Next up, we have Centipede Infestation on the Wii. Oh boy, where do I start with this one? Like the PlayStation version, this one attempts to tell a story complete with an animated cutscene as shown here.
Wow. Hi.
What?
Gameplay has you moving around an arena-type setting where you use the Wii Remote to point and shoot at the bugs while using the nunchuck controller to move around the field. It's not too bad, but I haven't played this one too far yet, so I'll reserve an opinion on it. Moving on to the Xbox 360, we have Centipede and Millipede Evolved. The gameplay is fast, the background music is not annoying, and everything you shoot explodes into fireworks. It can be a bit visually distracting, but you'll find the same arcade-style bug blasting here. Lastly, I will talk about the recently released Centipede Recharged. 40 years after the release of the original, we have a new take on the classic arcade style. This one has a much wider playing field, has various power-ups which spawn from spiders when you shoot them, and the centipedes continue to spawn even while the previous one is still in play. The screen can get quite frantic as more and more bugs start crawling everywhere. One big difference from this compared to all the other classic ports is that you only have one life. As a result, games can be pretty short depending on how well you can manage the chaos. There's also challenge modes that can be found, like killing a certain number of bugs with bombs, taking out a certain number of fleas in a set time limit, and more. The soundtrack is also good, and it feels like it was ripped out of the 80s with the synthesizers. So there you have it, a look at some of the ports and remakes of Centipede and Millipede. I know I missed a few, but these are the versions that I own. Have you played any of these bug blasting games? If so, which versions did you enjoy? Thank you for watching this video, and we'll see you next time.